Okay, doing my interview with my mother. Mom, please introduce yourself. What is your full name?
Hello, my name is Panayota Katsarakis.
And where are you from,
I was born in Sparta, Greece.
How long did you live there?
I lived in Greece for 7 years until I was 7 years old, and then I moved to Rochester, New York to be with my family when I was 7.
Can you tell us more about the move? I know you moved from a different continent with a different language to the new world, so to speak. Must have been a pretty big historical moment in your life. Can you enlighten the crowd?
It was very different. Moving to the United States, life was very different than the very small village that I was being raised in. I came from a very small town and arrived in JFK Airport in New York City with big, huge airplanes and very crowded, bustling streets of people. So it was a little overwhelming, I think, at first, but my family moved to Rochester, New York. So Rochester, New York, and upstate New York is not as busy and crowded, but it was still nevertheless very different. My school, my old school, was very small. It had approximately 16 students in the whole school. And now I was going to be attending an elementary school that had close to 600 students from first grade to sixth grade. So that was very different. The language was not as big of a barrier because I was very young. I was 7 years old, so I learned to speak English fairly quickly. Probably within the first 3 months, I was able to start reading and spelling words and communicate on a smaller scale with classmates and my teacher. I remember when I arrived in the U.S., I was going into second grade, and my second grade teacher happened to be friends with the teacher next door, and they were both young, and the teacher next door was dating a Greek man, and so whenever my teacher wanted to communicate with me, she would go to the teacher next door, who was not Greek but had the Greek boyfriend, and would translate things back and forth. So I thought that was cute. Except for one day when I arrived to the schoolyard and we all had to line up in lines by grade, and I guess I hadn't lined up when I was supposed to. And so when I went into my classroom that morning, my teacher said to me in Greek that I had been a bad girl.
Now, did you move? Tell us more about the move itself. What were do you remember your last days when you were living outside the U.S.?
I don't recall the exact details of the last few days that I lived in Greece. Only that I left my small town and went to stay in Athens with an aunt for a few days while we were waiting for our the day of departure. And I traveled on that day with my brother, who was 5.5 years old, and I was 7. And the two of us traveled together with a chaperone. I remember getting on a very, very large airplane with lots of people and eating strange food I had never eaten before, and learned that day that I have motion sickness because I did get sick when the plane was descending.
Mm. Now you said that you went with your brother and a chaperone to Athens from the village. Why a chaperone and not with your parents?
My parents were already in the U.S. They had been here for 2 years. They were working to bring us as well. When they first decided to come to the U.S., they weren't sure if they would like it here and want to stay. So they came without us, and they found jobs, and they bought a house and decided that they did want to stay. And so then they sent for us to join them here in America. And while we were living in Greece without them, we were living with my grandparents, my mom's parents and my dad's parents. So we were surrounded by loving family, and it was nice. It was a nice experience.
Now, how long were you living in Greece with the absence of your parents?
A total of 3 years.
And you hadn't seen them during that time at all?
I had not seen him for 3 years. Correct.
Mm-hmm. And I had a question to ask you.